being called wait when the horses, a lot of these jocks do that. That is, you just want to smack them, because it's, I think they're all trying to get the edge, but at the end of the day, when you worked a problem horse and you've got 5 seconds and they know you only got 5 seconds, you want to rip their heads off.
Welcome to another edition of Horses to Follow for KwaZulu-Natal, where I've been told I've got a voice like a foghorn.
So are we wrong or are we right?
It's a foghorn. What is a foghorn?
Listen, your horse won on Sunday. And you were in the Berg. We could still hear you.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. But what is exactly? Hold on. I want to know from you what is the definition of a foghorn, or what is a foghorn. But in the meantime, I'm going to greet Glyn Redgrave, who's a horse whisperer, and he's on the show with us today. Glen, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking, Warren. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Glen. Why are you whispering now?
He's the whisperer, the horse whisperer. I am being told that my voice is like a foghorn. What's a foghorn? Like something that's big and loud.
Yes, yeah. They used to, when the ships in the fog, they put the foghorn on so they know where they are.
Okay.
And you don't crash into each other.
Okay.
Yeah. So we won't crash into you.
I was walking through, is it the Drakensberg or the Drakensberg?
Whatever you like.
I was walking through the Drakensberg over this past weekend with my sister, and we don't have much time to enjoy each other's company. And whilst walking through the virgin forest up the side of the mountain.
What's a virgin forest?
It's a forest that hasn't been
raped. Yeah, okay.
Andrew, it's a forest that is very wild. Anyway, she said to me, I must tell you something. I said, what is it? I thought, oh, here we go. She said, you're very, very nice. You're a hell of a nice person. I said, oh, thank you very much. She said, but. I said, oh, goodness, here comes the but. She said, but you're very loud. So she's got a good assessment.
Yeah, boy.
Huh? So I suppose you can't.
Well, that's come from your sister.
Yeah, so it can't be. I can't be perfect.
No, so I'm your mate. So I'm just telling you, you're loud.
We're going to talk to Glyn Redgrave in a moment and find out all about horse whispering and how he got into it and how he does it and all the rest of it. But for now, we need to touch up on the news. First of all, Tawanda, he's got a new job. I didn't know that he was the commandant at the army.
He's got some new boots too.
Sure, he's got those army boots. He's got camouflage. I mean, they don't want anybody to see him.
Must be a new issue. I've never seen boots like that before.
Yeah, new boots, new everything. I think he's come
scale
from the army. Oh yes, the DLI.
Okay.
DLI. The sales, Andrew, you're on your own next week, all on your own for one full week. I'm going to Gauteng for the sales. We've advertised it a lot now. They must tag Bloodstock South Africa in this because we've been advertising this sale quite a lot. Tawanda, please could you make sure when you do this podcast, would you tag Bloodstock South Africa?
Yeah, Warren wants 10% discount.
10% discount on my buyer's card. Bloodstock South Africa, the national yearling sales that are taking place up at the Germiston Sales Complex next week, 15th and 16th of April. Get to Germiston, buy yourself a yearling. Bloodstock South Africa. Will you tag them, please? Yes. Thank you. So it's the national yearling sale. I'm away for the whole week. You're on your own, eh?
Thank you.
Okay. Now,
really kind of you.
Glen, the clubhouse area where we are recording this podcast from, you spend, well, I say not a lot of time, but you always come and have a cup of coffee, some water, freshen up. Never water,
no.
Brandy?
Never. Hot chocolate, maybe.
Anya, who you know very well, is a good friend of all of us. She was on the show last week, and she said that the general public are starting to get the message now that they must come to this beautiful clubhouse and enjoy a glorious breakfast in this setting.
Definitely.
And it's a lovely spot.
It is indeed. I mean, I tell all my clients, they always say to me, like, where's a good place for breakfast? And so you don't know. You come for a decent breakfast, and if you like horses, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning when the place opens and you can hear horses, but you can't see them kind of thing. That is majestic sometimes, And then it's just a sea of horses out there. So it's not just one to look at, there's hundreds.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely spot. Okay, so that was very successful, the clubhouse. Any news from Ashburton? You are the Ashburton mayor?
Yeah, Ashes was quite quiet this morning. Yesterday was quite busy. I see Donovan Dillon was up. His missus is riding. She's on the work riders course there. Yeah.
Really? That's fantastic.
How are the injured jocks? Because there's a few of them. Ashton Aries, Donovan Dillon, Gareth Wright, you mentioned.
Right, yeah.
Any news on how
I spoke to Donny. He said he's coming right. He said it won't be long. He's still his arms still, his hands still in the cast.
Educate me, sorry, Andrew. What happened to Donovan Dillon?
He fell off here and he broke a bone in his hand. So it's taking time to heal.
I need to get to Ashburton. I've been saying that for a long time now, but the schedules, believe it or not, I know you think I don't work, but the schedules are getting busier and busier.
I take the 5th.
Yesterday, I mean, you're a horse whisperer, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, but, it's the strangest thing. Life is a funny thing. About 4 months ago, I had my wisdom tooth removed from the chair in the dentist's practice. He did it at a twist of the wrist, different class. Boop, never felt a thing. The day after, never felt a thing. Yesterday, I had to have one of my, I don't know, we'll call them molars or ones right at the back. He battled for 10 minutes. He pushed and pulled there to strap me down there to get a winch type thing. Eventually, they got the damn tooth out. Andrew, if I can tell you how tender my face is today, it feels like I've been through a round of boxing with Kevin Larena.
Being clocked.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So I'm a little tender.
Well, if you looked after your tats, you wouldn't have them pulled out.
They say things happen in threes. So the tat was pulled out. On the way back from the Drakensberg, a stone went through the windscreen. Hey. And I got home making myself a sandwich and I sliced my finger. So those are all three, I hope, no more.
Well, it's out.
Yeah. The floats have been arriving, and you'll know as well, being based at Summerfeld and Ashburton, the visitors are in town. There's big action happening this week. More horses coming from the Cape, Bulgarian, the Snaith team, etc. Exciting times.
Yeah, it is. All the big guns are coming, and it's a bit disappointing that the locals haven't got anything to match them with it. Not at the moment, anyway.
Oh, be careful now.
Unless they haven't left them. I'll get into trouble again.
Andrew, the GTV studios have been doing a wonderful job with their interviews and their reruns, and the shortlist, Sheldon Peters, Dees Dynant, myself, Graham, all the guests that we have on the GTV show. I see Graham's 2 suggested pick 6 bankers both arrived, so it's going well. It's nice, everything in racing, you get in form, out of form, and the GTV team are in form at the moment, and we've got to enjoy it.
Yeah, but it's a thankless job tipping horses. You're either bloody good or bloody useless. Mostly bloody useless.
Now, talking of inform and tips, I got sometimes certain people are don't. I love that term. Don't cut anybody any slack. They don't give you any slack any room to move.
Oh, you're good or you're bad. Oh,
yeah. There could be a little bit more lenient than that. But I got an inbox from somebody saying, "Amazing." No, hello, how are you, dear Warren? Have a nice day. Nothing. Amazing. Your very own horse wins and you don't tip it to the public. And I looked at it, and it wasn't that polite, let me tell you. And I thought, should I reply, shouldn't I reply? And then I went back and listened to our podcast. Maybe that guy didn't listen to our podcast. I don't know. I don't know if he wanted me to message him directly, to tip to him personally, phone him, go to his house, present it to him on a golden platter. I don't know. But on the podcast, the first race, we spoke about it for 5 seconds. We said chief executive can win, will win, fancied by the stable to win.
Well, he obviously can't read form, so maybe you should try betting on something else.
Okay, so chief executive won, and let's talk to Glen for a moment we'll get a little bit personal. Why not? We pay our, as Graham Hawkins says, we pays our monies, we takes the chances, or there's some saying. But chief executive, we race with Callie Miller, or now Callie Azzy, and Sterling Miller. Difficult bugger. You're the man that actually helped this horse quite a lot.
Yeah. Mike and Craig called me in when he was still a colt.
He still had his batteries, as Michael says.
And they were charged, eh? I mean, I did all my prep work that all the cowboy heroes do. I used a guy by the name of Buck Brannaman. He's a legend in my eyes. He's got like 250 years of accumulated knowledge and exercises under his belt. So I went and extracted most probably the top 15 exercises and put him through his paces and got him to listen. I was really stoked and chuffed. Hey, I can get through to this colt. And then I took him up to the top pens here directly behind me by the clubhouse. Within 10-15 seconds he jumped on top of me. I walked him straight in. I said, wow, this stuff is working great. And then next minute
just exploded.
Chief executive was on top of me. Yeah. And then he put his legs across the other side, the other partition or the other berth of the pens.
He actually injured himself. That's
exactly. And I was like, what the hell? That's not how we kind of load. And I straightened him up and got him back into his stall. And then next minute he reared up and put his feet on the other side. And I was like, that's when I just realized that this guy's either going to kill me or he's going to hurt himself, and then we're going to be nowhere. And then I walked back to the Miller yard with the tail between my legs, and I was like, oh man, I got to tell them they got to geld him, and how long's that going to take? And anyway, they gelded him, put him through the same exercises. Sheesh, yeah, it wasn't easy, eh? It wasn't easy. It wasn't a matter of gelding him and then him accepting the pens. It was back to square one. But he's very, very sensitive. So if anything happens behind him or around him, he'll use it as a catalyst just to explode, you know. So to try and get him to switch off to stuff around him and still listen, that was a massive maturity step for him to digest into his world, you know. So when he did run, and the jocks are smart because these guys know the horse's temperaments, you know, and they're always, when they're going down to the start, they're not whistling and talking to themselves. They're
trying
planning
to stir up the opposition.
Yeah, they're looking at the horses and kind of going, okay, that one doesn't stand and that one does this, and so we stood for a while before we jumped, you know, and he handled it like a pro. He didn't budge, he didn't do anything. I mean, as gates opened, he was gone.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
It was funny. I spoke to Craig Yudi before the race. I said, how's it going? He says, I'll tell you after the first. Yeah.
Well, I didn't give them any confidence because they asked me, what do you think? And I'm going like, this one I'm nervous, eh? Yeah. And then when they look at me, when I say something like that, then that makes them nervous. So obviously his first run, he was he was very green. He didn't know where he was, you know. He was nice and obedient and listening, which is fantastic. He didn't kill anyone. He behaved. But I think he just needed that first run just to get
just to know what it's all about.
Just to sort his nonsense out, you know, and come out the other side clean. So he handled his first run well, and then the second run was just absolutely fantastic. And you must be proud of him.
We are certainly proud of him, and thank you to you for all your work and the whole Miller team. But you were at the races on Sunday.
Yep.
And you didn't lead him in.
Well, Candice was there. Why was
I? Because you are mates. You can lead it in. What's
could have been on other rain, you know?
Other rain, you know. It could have been other rain.
Anyway. They'll say, you've been racing under the lap.
Glenn, just tell me now and share with the public. Well, I know the reason, but share with the public. He needed to be gelded. Yeah. You know, that's taking surgically removing the testicles. Why are the testicles making a colt behave like that?
He had zero self-preservation. You know, when horses kind of react to certain things, and then when they throw themselves into harm's way, then you know that something needs to be seriously sorted out. You know, because you won't have a horse to race. You know, and he did knock himself and hurt his one of his front legs. I'd be lying if I told you which one it was, but I took him back and then I says, hey man, look at what he's done to himself. And then Mike and Craig were incredibly understanding, and they said, well, that's it, don't worry about it, give him 2 weeks off, we'll cut him and we'll give you a shot.
So the gelding sort of calms them down.
It takes all that testosterone.
Yeah, that stupidity, that X factor which some horses need and then some horses can definitely do without. And he is prime example of a horse that can do without, and he's better off for it because he can do his job, which is basically move those feet, and damn, he can move those feet, you know.
He certainly can. Okay, Andrew, you were telling me, I haven't seen it yet, but you were telling me that David Thistleton, our colleague, has written an excellent article that we must suggest to the viewers to go and read.
Yeah, David was speculating on where Malmoose would run. Currently at his current merit rating, if Rainbow Bridge is the top weight in the July, Malmoose will carry half a kilo over bottom weight for a 3-year-old. But So currently he's in a good space as far as the weights go. But if he runs and he wins the Champions Cup in Turfentine, he'd probably be carrying 57 max. So I think Mike's got to sort of judge whether he wants to run in the July or he wants to run in the Champions Cup. But also, if he runs in the Daily News and he wins that, he's also going to get a penalty. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky thing. And then we've got the interprovincial
tussle
going on. The Cape Town boys think they've got the lot, and
that's it.
After Malmoose ran a shocker in the Guineas, but I think you could probably write that one off. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way it goes. So you just keep watching.
Andrew, War of Athena, Malmoose, both won their races so impressively. That was good racing last weekend.
Yeah, it was good racing, and I'm glad that they won so easily. But then you must question what ran behind them, because they got thrashed.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Yeah. But also, as Dave pointed out, is that if War of Athena runs in the July now, she'll carry bottom weight for a 3-year-old filly. She's spot on 122. So, yeah, we'll see where she goes from there.
I just want to make it very clear that, just to clarify what we discussed earlier, if I'm able to get a sponsor for our travelling costs, you coming with us to Zimbabwe?
I'll go to Zim anytime.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
You just want to hook up with Zambezi Lager again, don't you?
Yeah, well, we'll keep that under the mouth.
Beautiful country.
Maybe we can catch a freebie on Kariba. That's what I'd be looking for.
Beautiful country. Now, I need to wonder to post a picture of this dog, this very famous dog called Max, the Summerfeld dog Max, that's housed and owned by Garth Puller. We were there this morning doing some interviews. He's a beast. And what a magnificent beast.
He is massive.
You met him. I've showed you a picture.
No, showed me a picture.
Yeah, Max. Next time we bump into Garth Puller, ask him about Max. We'll get to wonder to put the picture up.
Was it
about Max the dog? Yeah, beautiful Boodable. In fact, let me send him the picture right now before I forget. I'm off, you know that, next week. So the podcast, what are you going to do? It's going to be you on your own?
I don't know. We're going to have to find someone.
Okay, don't phone me. I'll phone you.
Yeah, okay. The trouble is there won't be any trainers here. They'll all be at the sales.
At the sales, yeah. So but you'll have to make a plan.
Hey, lucky you can interview some assistants.
Yeah, well, it could be an option.
No, we'll get Della.
Absolutely. Maybe you should go up to Ashburton and go and interview Della, 100%. Okay, I've sent to Wonder the picture of the dog that needs to be posted.
He's better looking than you anyway.
Thank you. At least, yeah, I know you can't. Right, now, let's go on to Glyn Redgrave. Let's get some questions and get going for you.
What's up?
First thing for you is, where are you from? Where are you from? Where did you go to school? Tell us about your family. Take us way back.
Came from the same place all of you guys did, mommy's tummy. And then ended up in a house and got fed and raised by crazy delinquent English parents that gave me a name by the name of Glen. So they must have been drunk, definitely. And then it all went south, where we got a donkey, and then that was a challenge, and then next challenge after the next is I used to be keen on football, and then I picked up some pains in my joints, and that was Osgood-Schlatter's disease, they said, which is a huge big damn word. Don't ask me to spell it, but it just your tendons or your bones grow too long for your tendons, and then you just if you get a bump on your knee or on your ankle, it was just excruciating, like how that tooth feels. But every day you're training. So then my dad knew that I was keen on ball sports and stuff, but I had no legs. So then we just kind of put polocrosse together, Yeah. So that sport came along, and it was fantastic because now I could ride. Obviously, we learned how to go through the whole riding thing, and riding in halters and falling off and doing the whole farm thing, riding bareback and playing stingers on horseback, which all the friends were keen, because then everyone fell off. If you threw a polocrosse ball at a horse, that horse ended up dumping you anyway because it got a fright. So you learn how to ride pretty quick. And then we used to, then we just somehow I got the knack of sorting out people's problem horses at practices if they had a horse that they couldn't get on, because they were jabbing their toe into it. I don't know, just a bit of logic and a bit of patience and a bit of passion at a young age. And then, it just kind of stuck. Like you guys, how did you get into horses?
Yeah.
It's in your blood, and you can do whatever you want to get away from it. But end of the day.
So you started right from the, you didn't do anything else? Did you have another job?
No.
No.
Because at school, when it came to matric, it was fantastic because I was having to train and look after about 5 or 6 polocross horses. So I wake up early in the morning, like 4 o'clock, go and ride one, lead 2, you know, go for a 16K. Because when you're playing top polocross, your horses had to be fit, you know. So the time you got to school, you already done a whole bunch of graft, and then by the time you finish school, then you got homework. I never did any homework because I have to go back and then finish off the other 2 or 3 horses, you know, mucking out stables. We didn't have grooms.
Right.
We had no grooms. So that was my father's work ethic. If you can't look after the horse yourself, then there's no point keeping it. And then if he found the horse with no water or no food or a dirty stable, guess where I was sleeping that night? So it was
in the stable.
In the stable. In a shitty stable. So you learn to sort your stuff out, you know, and look after them.
Was your old man into horses?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I learned from him, you know, all the bad riding style, you know, like arms flapping. They used to call him Batman. But yes, he was good with all kinds of animals, and he had this one horse that used to run away with him, Kazakh lady. It just bolt across the field, and then we just stop and just watch him. And then he used to go around the field and then come through the middle, try and pick up the ball. And the one day he threw his toys, but in a good way. He just sat back and he laughed. And then the horse just stopped and then looked at him, and then that was the last time it ever bolted. So he had a weird, wonderful way with horses.
Yeah.
He might not have been a horseman, but he had something to learn from, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And where was all this?
This is like 1980. So we moved here in 1980, and then I reckon we started playing polocross in like 86, 87.
Whereabouts? Yeah,
in Crestholme. We started in Crestholme, and then eventually when we could play proper polocross and pick up a ball and pass it to each other, we kind of went up the ranks.
Okay.
Where were you before Crestholme? Where's home? Joburg, Durban?
Yeah, I was born in Jerviston.
Okay.
And then went to, after burning 1 or 2 houses down, but being a bit of a pyro and burning down the garage with a brand new car inside in a rural area, then we got sent out to the bush, and then I could set the bush on fire.
Sounds like you and Philip Fourie came from the same school. You know?
Maybe Philip taught me something.
Okay. So it's a question that you obviously going to answer. If I said to you, "Are you scared of horses?" You know, and naughty horses, you're going to say no. But
no.
Is it fair to say no, or are you cautious? Are you?
Yeah, of course you're cautious.
Do some horses get you a little bit worried?
Well, chief executive got me very worried. You know, the idea is to load them into the pens, not to do push-ups with them on top of you, kind of thing. You know, and they got the power ratio against you. So you got to do your homework, and that's why I appreciate. In this country, there's very little horsemen to kind of follow. You know, and if you're really going to get into this, then you better do your homework and follow someone who knows what the hell they're doing. And in my opinion, someone who trains horses for their livelihood, and like these American cowboys, where if the horse doesn't do its job, they toast. Yeah. We don't have that level of commitment in this country where people aren't even prepared to lead their horses around in a halter. You know, a horse doesn't go into a horse box, or a horse doesn't go into the starting pens. It's a halter leading exercise, or it's a leading exercise. There's no two ways about it. But they're not prepared to halter train their horses. And if you say to someone that your horse isn't halter trained, it's like an insult. It's a massive insult in this country.
There's not enough bedding in the box or something. It's a huge insult.
People take it so personally, so you got to be very careful about what you say.
But don't you find? I mean, as I've sort of found with racing now, the way we've sort of developed over the years. In the old days, before cell phones and things like, people were more
hands-on,
in tune with their horses. I mean, even the blokes who lived in town knew a little bit about horses and things like that. Now you go and talk to someone in town and they say, "A horse? I don't know anything about horses." Yeah, horsepower in their Ferraris. Yeah,
they know a lot about the horsepower, 100%. The hands-on, problem solving, or I mean, these trainers have got a ridiculous job. You know, they got to prep them. They got to give them the right food to do the right job, and then you give them the wrong food, and then they're underperforming.
I reckon it's the hardest job
it is
in the world,
job.
Training racehorses.
100%.
Couldn't agree.
Yeah,
with
apart
you
from the horses, you got to put up with
Look,
all other stuff
the
that
labour
goes with
force
it.
alone. I mean, we saw the shenanigans that happened in PE last year with unhappy labour force, for whatever reason that is. But it's a complex team effort. It's not just one person.
No.
Like chief executive didn't win because I got him into the pens. And it's a huge team.
Yeah.
It goes from the guy from the groom to the physio to the guy putting up tight on the legs and looking after the welfare of the horse. Just having a good groom or a bad groom can really either make a horse relaxed or
make or break.
or push it over the top. Just because someone's having a bad day. And you want to see some real horse whisperers, is you come and look at some of these grooms who deal with problem horses every day.
Yeah.
Riding horses every day to the track. I deal with my fair share, but not every day dealing with 5 or 10 problem horses. I mean, that's a dream come true. And if, there's some of these Kechlers and Numzans and yard top-notch grooms that are just out of this.
They're good. Yeah.
They're the
Yeah, I
heroes.
suppose if you're dealing with loonies all the time, you eventually get to.
Yeah, and you see the horse is losing its mind, and the guy's just relaxed, and that's the whole thing. It's not to get personally. Not personal about how the horse is reacting just because you're holding it. They're world class. They don't get upset and smack it or anything, and they just let the horse go up and down, run around, and then just carry on.
I remember John Slade when I went to Main Chance when he was still at Main Chance. They had Black Mona Luge there. Apparently, when he came from New Zealand, he was a bit of a man eater, and I don't remember the name of the the stud groom there. But apparently, he got on so well with the horse. He used to play music to him, but only listen to the Khoiso station. He said, hey, English didn't work with him. And the horse behaved itself. It was calmed right down there.
I think you'll find many top horses around the world, that they have a groom that they can just connect with. If it wants to eat, they're not going to fight with the horse. They've got a ridiculous relationship and good energy, and I think that's what the trainers want, is they just want that horse to be in a happy space before it runs.
I'll tell you one, if you want a good read, is Les Carlin. He wrote a book called True Grit, and then he wrote one of the chapters was we went to visit Sir Tristram in Australia, who was a complete nutter, and he sort of sidled up to the thing. He said he's expecting this big muscled stallion to come out all proud. He said there's a little ratty old thing there with a bloody ratty old halter.
A halter, yeah.
Yeah, and the bloke said to him, well, don't go too close to the fence. He said, why? He says, because it'll eat you. This is the halter's there because we can't get it off.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, but he was a brilliant stallion.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Glen, you're barring chief executive, who's been your biggest or most fierce challenge and success story? Is there one particular horse that stands out?
She's a Diamonds Forever. But yeah, she just to say no and just throw herself over backwards. I remember I think it was the first time we raced her at Scottsville. Billy Jacobson, he was the only one
prepared to ride her.
Mad enough at the time, and he's because we hit it off, and he saw the work that I was doing, and he said, look, if you ever need a jockey, I'm keen. So then I said,
Billy's a bit of an adrenaline
junkie. If Billy's prepared to come along and do the work, can he get the ride, kind of thing. So Billy comes along, we go to our first race, and then Diamonds Forever just freezes and just threw herself over backwards once, twice. Picked him up, threw him on, and then she loaded, and I don't think she did anything fantastic, but she eventually, I think a few runs later, she eventually started coming through and placing and winning. But horses that chief executive, some of these fillies could do with being gelded, because that's the hardest thing, is taking that spark and that craziness away.
You had African Dream for Mark Dixon,
yeah.
Graham Hawkins owned a share in that.
Yes,
that was an animal. What an animal.
She could run too.
She could run like the wind, but also be as mental as the wind and as stable as the wind as well. And I mean, unfortunately, she passed away right here, about not even 200 meters away from us. Flipped over in the ring, and took her own life. She banged her pole.
Banged her head.
Yeah, banged her head, and that was the end It was a very sad day for the Dixons and myself. It was like really? You don't expect them to go that way.
Yeah. She was just also everything about her fierce. She was just.
She wasn't a horse. She was a bay panther. I've never seen a horse grab a packet with its back foot and then stamp it with its front foot, trying to put it through the earth. Not through the earth, like through to Australia. She was incredibly punchy around her front feet. That's why she didn't want to load. She was super nervous around her front feet, so she would rather rear and attack you with anything. Front feet, back feet, mouth, and turn and
she was. I'd hope to be the groom.
Yeah.
and she performed well. She did well. She won races and
yeah, she did well. I mean,
she won a feature at Gravel.
Yeah, she won a feature.
Would you say she would possibly be your most difficult? I mean, you mentioned Paul Gadsby is one.
No, I think she was the most one of the most awesome horses. From being psycho to actually being manageable, and then the worst ones are the ones that you can't do anything with. I think Stewie Ferrius, Dennis Dryer's Stewie Ferrius gave me a raconteur to put into the pens. 2 sessions later, he just went right through the top and whacked his head in a bad way. And again, no self-preservation and just literally dangerous.
Yeah. So there are some that
you can't. You do your best.
You do your best. You can't.
You do your best, but at the end of the day, you kind of got to put yourself in a situation where this horse is either going to kill me or it's going to kill itself. And if that's the situation, then
let's stop.
Rather rid of it.
You just call it quits. You're not trying to win every situation, because then you just get too desperate and try too much. You got to be humble.
Okay.
Horses are humbling.
Techniques, you spoke on some of your techniques, or the different techniques, the different ways to do it. I've often seen you would have seen it often, you're walking around the parade ring, and before I learned all about this horse whispering, I used to see you, and before I knew you, you'd have this long stick with a pick and pay packet at the end of it, and I thought, what on earth is going on? And as you walk with the horse, I've watched you, the horse will do a donut turn around you, and you go with the horse, and then you put it back, and you've got that long stick, and you're shaking the packet here, and you're shaking the packet there, you're putting it in between its legs, and I used to think you needed the whisperer, to be quite honest with you.
That's some sort of 99% of people think when they say, who's this idiot with a bloody plastic packet?
But desensitizing, is that the right word? What do you?
Yeah, well, your horse has got a brain, and shit hits a fan when the brain doesn't understand what's going on, and that 9 times out of 10 happens in high pressure situations and in situations where you don't want them to happen. So if you can't train the brain and get through to the brain, then you're wasting your time. So if you can just get that brain just to come down a few notches and keep its feet on the ground and listen, like Chief Executive, African Dream, Giggle and Talk, another horse that's a lot of horses. There was one of Mark Miller's that used to lie down in the pens.
Sure.
So, when those situations happen, then there's something that misfires straight away. And it doesn't, it's like us, everything starts here, and then we act out everything else, and very similar to horses.
So basically, you're sort of like a horse psychologist, really. Each individual.
Well, it's body behavior. So horse psychology, horse whispering, whatever fancy name you want to use it. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. But between Mike and myself, we're just trying to help horses understand their job. And some horses you just have to work for longer and help them longer. And for me, it's never a quick fix. I mean, I wish I could go there, touch a horse once or twice, and then and then it listens. Yeah. Then you get in and get out. But horses are like me. That sometimes they take forever to learn.
Then what about And I want to make the message very, very clear, because we're all sick for horse racing. We all love the animal. I certainly wouldn't own racehorses if I didn't love them. I mean,
100%.
But you don't have to own a racehorse to love the game and to love the animal. The point I'm making is they are like naughty children.
Oh, yeah.
So, is there a time where you may have to get a little firm with them? Or, I mean, as I said, we don't go around whipping and beating our horses. We absolutely adore them. But is there times where you have to sort of raise your voice and say, come on now, stand up now, come on, behave? Is there times, or is that not the way to go?
Well, the shouting and the screaming doesn't help, You don't see these top grooms shouting. Well, I suppose you do, but the real good ones don't shout and scream. Self-control. I think horses are here to teach us self-control as humans, and the ones that don't have self-control, you clearly can see it. Whether it be at a high jumping or show jumping, dressage, when a horse loses it, even races, sticks up and everyone wants to shout and scream at the horse. The top quality guys will just let the horse look around and then give it a minute or two, and then it'll start walking again. The impatient ones are the guys that just go straight to the whip. You're not going to teach much by leaving welts and pain on a incredibly smart, intelligent animal. They'll probably kind of go back to the barn thinking long and hard and thinking how I can really mess you around again. So when they got their head in their manger, they're also thinking about who's that idiot and how can I stuff him around. So like problem horses, when I really started getting into, I used to really feel sorry for them and have a soft approach and exercise them like once a week, give them 7 days to think about what the hell just went on, instead of coming back the next day and then kind of grabbing them again and succumbing them to all that pressure. You let them lick and chew and think about it, so that the next time you come back, you're kind of saying, hey, remember the stuff that I did last week? And you'd be absolutely gobsmacked when they can literally retain about 85 to 90% of what we did last week. So it shows you that the repetition of having to come back tomorrow, that's our desperation. I personally think is that okay, he was bad yesterday, then let's do him again and again and again. You're gonna start, I think, depending on the character of the horses, because they're all individuals like ourselves. They all handle pressure differently, same as people, and some of them, if you do it too many times, they just start getting
stubborn.
Stubborn, sour, not wanting, and then you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the wrong reasons of making yourself look good, but then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Do you find that horses actually recognize you sometimes?
100%. I wouldn't like to say that, but yes, Gary Rich is proof of that. he had a wow.
What was its name?
Piero. Dom Piero.
Yes.
That one, Dom Piero.
Dom Piero. He had a horseman. When it heard me coming, it was already whooping around the stable and starting to poop itself, literally, because it knew that I was coming to push buttons. The Crawfords, Lola Crawford had a grey Gandalf, something. Terrible, I'm forgetting all these names.
Doesn't matter, we're all getting old.
I'm not that old. And
you don't look too bad for 78.
58. And horses do. They definitely know.
What's the funniest thing? You say that, you ask that question, and again, it's not getting personal, it's just telling you the state of what happened. Is you mentioned that. Do you know how many times I have been around horses, not at the races or with my wife, and she'll be taking photographs, or how many horses I think will recognize it. She says that horse recognize the click of the camera, or recognize, maybe they say your scent, they can pick up your scent. So I think horses do recognize, but obviously not every single one.
100%.
But there are certain horses that recognize you when you work with them.
Well, and if I came along and pushed your buttons every single time I met you, you would have a feeling every single time you saw me.
Get rid of that.
It says, time to get out of here. And the thing is, the horse is stuck in a stable, so where the hell else can he run?
Go,
And you sure as hell know when a horse doesn't want you. You go and catch it in the paddock. When you finish working problem racehorses here, and you go into Civvy Street in Summerfeld, and then you got to go into the paddock and catch a horse. When you're spending 10, 15, 20 minutes swearing at the thing because it's making you look like an idiot, then you sure as hell know that horse doesn't want you to do anything with it.
Glenn, you also work at the start on race days and at the starting stores you work. Tell us a bit about that.
What do you want to know, Warren?
Is that one of your part-time, full-time, if that makes sense? Are you at the start for all the races? Are you a handler at the start?
Yes, I'm a handler at the start every race day, unless I have to zip down to Eastern Cape to go see my son whenever I can. Every race meet, we're there to do the best that we can with all the problem horses or no problem horses, And it is interesting because so much pressure, so little time.
Yeah.
And even as an experienced horseman, you can still make a mistake. You get the horse's nose in the V, and then as you lift your hand, the horse is shying at your hand, and you're going, oh, damn, was that a head in stores? Was it supposed to be a head in stores? And then you look at the race card, yes, it's a head in stores, but the horse is head shy. So then you realize, oh, damn, that horse could do with a bit of interaction, a bit of plastic, a bit of packet interaction, and to make it not head shy. Because when you jump up in the pens, a lot of horses kind of look at you, and a lot of horses literally put themselves, like, what the hell are you doing up there? And it's incredible because you don't have that much space. I mean, remember when Hawam was throwing itself around in that July?
Were you around there?
I was the idiot holding the horse. So, I thought I was going marlin fishing. It was just, I never had my right arm ripped back and forth like that in my life. And
so you were in the pens with Hawam?
Yeah. And Ant bought, Marcus is yeah. He's he knows. He bought me breakfast, saying, hey, can you help me on July Day? And I was, yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, I got past the horse, right? Came in and didn't even stand for 2 seconds. 1 minute its nose was hitting the front gate, and next minute was rearing over backwards. And if I didn't pull it forward, I honestly thought it was going to snap its back left hock. Because, I mean, it was just all that weight and that's why when we pulled it out, and old Ruan, the vet at the races, said, hey, that horse is sore. And then Ruan didn't want it. He didn't want to scratch it because, he wants the thing to run, and now he's going to get hold of Mr. de Kock.
That's going to be a hell of a, I mean, I remember the footage.
We all wanted to see that horse run because that would have been a race and a half.
But Ruan, I remember, I still see that footage in my mind all the time. I mean, I remember him, he just put his head in his hands. And I mean, what a thing but again, it's testament that the welfare of the horse comes first.
100%.
He has said to me, he doesn't care if it's a 1-6 odds-on favourite in the Melbourne Cup, if it's a 4-10 shot on Vodacom Durban July, or it's 160-1 outsider in a soup meat maiden.
Horse comes first.
Horse must come first. Yeah. That's the bottom line. So that must have been emotions running high on that day, obviously.
100%.
Now,
emotions were also running high when your horse won. You don't know if it's going to listen.
We're running high, don't you worry about that. And Glen, where do you live? Are you based in Summerveld, Hillcrest, Durban? Where do you stay?
Well, I'm all over at the moment. Kind of homeless or not homeless. I got staying with a friend in Pinetown, renting a room from him until I can kind of get my feet in the ground, settled again. I lost our family property in Crestone. Things kind of not always around. It teaches you that let go and kind of move forward and that kind of thing in life, and nothing is constant. So just trying to work as many problem horses as I can, or as many, and no matter what discipline, so whether it be show jumping, dressage, racing. So as long as it's a horse,
you're happy.
I can work.
I see from your shirt that you played
polo cross,
Springbok.
That was my adrenaline rush when I was growing up. We could go out there and as a young kid play against adults and irritate them and get under their noses and leave them with a few welts on their hand and leave your name your name on the field kind of thing. And that's cool because in polo cross, no matter how old you were, if you were good, then you could play against adults. Yeah. And if you're a girl and you're a good, then you give the boys a hiding. So it was a fantastic game,
Yeah.
Glen, like in any business, there's plenty of trainers, different their opposition, but they're also friends. There's different journalists, but we all get on well. There's different TV presenters. The point I'm going to is, there is another horse whisperer in the province. There's a handful it's a handful. There's a few in the country because it's something that's very specialized
100%.
And very talented, etc. But in this province, it's you and Mike Shaw. Mike will be on the show with us in a couple of weeks' time to hear his story. But the two of you were telling me off air the other day. You get on well. You assist one another when you have to. But you both run your own separate businesses.
100%. We both have a different kind of approach, but the ridiculous mutual respect when it comes to a race. If he needs a hand for me to jump up with the appeal for Dennis Bosch at the races, he'll say, "Hey Glenn, do me a favor, jump up," and then I'll jump up. I'll bring him in, and we'll get the horse to stand. There's no animosity. It's 100%. Looking after each other, and if I'm ever in the deep end, I know Mike will be there to help me. And if I know that he needs a hand, I'll be there to help him.
Yeah, it's nice to know, because
100%.
Yes, as we're saying, although they're two separate companies, they're two separate businesses, they're two.
Yeah,
separate
it'll be competition,
humans.
but at the end of the day, the horse has got to come first.
Correct.
Like, whether it be Ruan or whether it be the handlers or the vet, no matter what.
Yeah, you've got your clients and he's got his clients. I suppose maybe, I would imagine if there's a horse that you can't get right, maybe the trainer or the owner has that option to say, well, look, you can't get it right. Let's try the guy or the lady from PE or somebody different. But it's two separate. I wanted to make that clear that, that the two guys are separate businesses, but you get on very well.
100%.
Yeah, and it's important. Yeah, the horse must come first. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions for Glenn? It's been wonderful. Jeez, it's been. I'm so glad we got Glenn on, because and I said in the interview the other day, and we'll get you on TV too as well, because I could see the emotion and the joy. I forget the name of the horse that Mike had been working with. I think it was with Loan Donations horse Alfredo, if I'm not mistaken.
Alfredo. Yeah.
Oh wow!
And I could see that Mike was in the number one box
in
tears. So joy, it was. And I said, because I want to get behind the scenes people, whether it's a handler, whether it's a horse whisperer, whether it's the colleagues that stamp the ground, whatever it is, whether you get the behind the scenes people, because it's a big effort that goes into getting a horse to the races.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why it's such a fascinating sport.
Yeah,
and you could see the emotion that came through Mike.
Yeah.
And when you're working your socks off and you've done all the hours work, and no one knows what the close calls that you've gone through prior to race, and no one cares.
Yeah,
they don't care if you lose a finger or if you lose a limb. They just want their horse to actually go into the damn pens and run. That's what they're paying for, right?
Yeah.
So when it does win, and you are able to hold the horse in the parade arena, hey, by all means, cry your heart out, because it is blood, sweat, and tears. Very seldom does it come along and works so easy. That never happens. So you got to put in the effort, and good on Mark.
Yeah, put in the hard yards.
100%.
Any other questions? 'Cause before we skim through and give the viewers some, there was one other question, but it'll come back to me. I've forgotten now. What's your name?
Well, the show is coming to an end. You ask next week.
It's been a long show, but a good show. Very, very interesting. But let's talk about a few horses that are running, Andrew.
You've got the card there.
Yeah, I've got the tab form. And Glenn, you sit back, relax, check your phone, do what you want to do. We'll just quickly skim through the card for Sunday. So it's Sunday the 11th of April. Hollywood Bets Gravel, that's where we're at.
Giggle and Talk, is that one of yours?
Yeah, baby.
Giggle and a Talk.
That was a horse of Miller's that couldn't jump.
Okay, that's running. That's number 2 in the first race. But I like the stable companion, number 1, Miss Jacqueline.
Yeah, I've gone for Chase the Stars.
You went for the stable companion. No, you couldn't have, Andrew, with 2 runs. It ran 9 lengths and 13 lengths off. You can't see.
He's reading upside down.
I'm reading upside down, haven't I?
Shame.
What was it? Bay of Dreams? See, I did the card yesterday. I've already forgotten.
Okay, well, never mind. That's fine. We want to single out a horse in each race for the viewers to keep an eye on. Miss Jacqueline. Second race, competitive maiden race. I think there's quite a few in with chances. Can you remember what you went for?
I can't remember. I think I went for Final Destiny, Garth Puller's horse.
Okay. Third race is a competitive event. There's Wishful Girl Lynn, who's really consistent. Captain Who ran second last time. Wild Coast.
We got some here. We got 7th Gear and Wild Coast. I think it's between those two. Wild Coast hasn't run for a while. Didn't it win the Guineas?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's been done nothing much since. But it's been running against top horses. But it may need the run. 7th Gear, I think, is pretty useful.
Fourth race, when we spoke to the Miller team this morning for the TV show, they said that Diamonds and Toads was their best runner on the day. I agree. I think this horse might be tough to beat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't remember.
Fifth race.
You guys
a lot of help
you
here.
actually agree on something.
Yeah, fifth race. Yeah. Hello tomorrow, Peter Muscat. Jabu Jacobs ran second last time, nearly won. I think this horse can go one better.
Yes.
Okay. Is that the one you tipped?
Yeah, that's the one I tipped.
Sixth race. Yeah, sixth race is tough. Garth was quite upbeat about Sacred Ibis this morning. Horse that's never too far off the action. It's got to have a big chance. You like?
I found one to beat it.
Okay, who's that?
Number one. What's
number one? Rise.
No, it wasn't that one either. Can't remember. By the witness, the Mercury and the Witness, you'll find out.
By the Mercury and the Witness. Okay, seventh race.
Not much use here.
The seventh race is a graduation handicap. Jack's Bird, this filly, she can run a bit. Simply Russian, I've got no doubt that she can do better.
I found a point of sale.
Are you sure now?
Yeah, I'm sure that one. Point of sale.
Point of sale. I'm going for Jack's Bird and Simply Russian. Andrew likes a bit of
Purple Persuasion. Those are the two I went for.
Point of sale and Purple Persuasion. The eighth and final race.
You got a sneaker here.
Tell me.
Palace Wind.
Number one, Palace Wind. Wendy Whitehead. Yeah, Richard Furry.
Yep.
2 good efforts last time.
There's another one that I found too. Gold Season. Those are my two.
You definitely are getting old, eh?
Yeah.
So
Gold Season.
You remember some, you can't remember others. Palace Wind and Gold Season for Andrew in the eighth race.
If I had my laptop here,
that's a that's a microwave version if there ever was one.
Yeah. Gold Season.
You know what else I wanted to tell you?
Ruffy
is that
of the day.
in the news, Gold Season, Andrew's Ruffy. Arlington Racecourse, did you see up for sale, auction?
Yeah.
It's been standing for how many years? What's it been doing? Just standing empty?
I don't know. There was a big fight. I think some auntie tried to buy it and she didn't buy it and the money didn't come through and I don't know.
So it's up for auction now. Okay, that's Arlington Racecourse. Interesting. Okay, that's a wrap for us. Glenn, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk nonsense on your...
Yeah, no, we wish you all the very best.
Yeah,
and sure. Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. You see, I'm very, very
It came back to you.
Just before the hammer comes down.
It came back.
What is your pet hate behind the pens? You're at the start, you're behind the pens. What is it that really irritates? That's what I wanted to ask. When we were asking him his questions, I said, there's one question left, and I want to ask him.
It can be a few things.
Like what is my pet hate is when Terry Fripp walks in on the podcast.
And wants a tip.
I'm only joking. Please come forward and come and talk to us.
You did it.
I'm just.
This is Terry.
I'm just admiring Krusty the Clown's shoes.
Yeah, can you believe that?
He's wearing shoes today,
bro.
He's
wearing shoes. You're lucky he's wearing shoes.
Those look like Paul Gatsby's hand-me-downs.
He's giving it.
He should be so lucky.
Paul Gatsby never fit in that flipper, man.
Terry, you live at Summerfeld. You in Hillcrest. You work here. You spend most of your life here. Glorious environment. Anything you can share with the viewers for Sunday racing? We've just skimmed through the card. The book's only just come out.
Yeah, and I've given up because I can't remember what I tipped.
Sunday. We've got a filly running in the maiden mile. Drawn well. 8. Rainwear. She's run 2 seconds in a row.
Rainwear, that's competitive. One to look out for. Okay.
We were going to go for the Polly on the Wednesday meeting, but Tony opted to run on the turf. She would be the best of our 2.
Okay, lovely. So Rainwear. Well, thank you for your always lovely chatting. And there's another one for you, friends.
Well,
Rainwear.
On Sunday.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I must be honest with you. Although my family have got a share in the horse, I'd given up on Dandolo, but I was the first.
Well done, Andrew.
The first to
finally tipped a winner.
Yeah, Christmas came a bit early for you. Anyway, thank you, Terry. Well done with Dandolo. And there we go. You got a compliment, eh? Well done for tipping Dandolo. Okay. Well, there we go.
That was a weird compliment.
Let's go.
So pet hate.
Yes, what is it? What is your pet hate there behind the pens?
I don't know. Maybe a jockey asking for a wipe as he's going in to the pens, or as he's been told to load. A fiasco of trying to do or just trying to manipulate the start. You know, being called wait when the horses. A lot of these jocks do that. That is, you just want to smack them. You know. Because it's, I think they're all trying to get the edge, you know. But at the end of the day, when you worked a problem horse and you know you've got 5 seconds, and they know, you only got 5 seconds, you want to rip their heads off, because it's not their ass that's in the hot seats, you know. It's yours. lots of things.
So
you know.
a couple of niggly issues that irritate you. Well, that's fair enough, because we've all got that. We're all humans.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just been asked to do something stupid. I don't know. You know, horses jumping out of hoods and trying to do all kinds of things that they'd never did before. You're putting a hood on a horse for the first time and it runs through the rail. Or, you know, I don't know. Run, rhino, run. Dealing with horses like that, that I had schooled, you know, and then you leave it for like a month or two. The next minute you're being dragged around Scottsville, just like a rag doll.
I actually have a question. Is it like the temperament of a horse? Do you sometimes have fillies or mares or like females that are also just like crazy or
non-polite way?
Usually
don't know what we're doing.
Mostly males or what?
About 350,000.
Man, the handlers, we were losing our mind that day. We were all losing our mind. We couldn't believe it. Serena Moodley travelled like 300 wide. The widest that anyone's ever been around that track, and still wins like 350 meters. It's absolutely insane.
Before we close, you happy, John dear? Okay.
Well, yeah, I actually have a question. Is it like the temperament of a horse? Do you sometimes have fillies or mares or like females that are also just like crazy? Or
100%.
Is it usually a testosterone thing, like where it's mostly males or what?
Good question. To be honest with you, I think it's horses that have had a very limited handling. You know, horses that are literally out the bush and then they come into Civvy Street. You know, how the hell does a horse from Civvy Street manage to handle coming to track, going over the bridge, handle horses running towards it? There's so many pressure factors, you know. It just going for an outride, and the race horses get such a bad rap. Oh, the horse is going to run away with you. I mean, all these horses get outridden every week. You know,
so is it usually
situation? Horses are being trained
crazy
around the center, and then they must still go for an outride. I think it's absolutely incredible. But then a horse that absolutely loses its mind, yes, it can be from many reasons, but mostly either food, being overfed, and then not well trained. You know,
overfed and underworked.
Classic. Too much energy. And it can't stand. I mean, if you think about when did these animals ever get asked to stand? There's only one place they get asked to stand, and that's in the pens. That's it. So when a rider gets put on, they're moving their feet.
So is it usually mostly males that are crazy?
It's difficult to say. Hey? I mean, I get equal amount of horses problematic. I'm actually better with fillies, you know, because I don't know, they appreciate that's the soft or the good deal that you offer, because I mean, if you offer the good deal to a colt and he doesn't take you up on it, there's only one answer, you know, geld him. But if a filly doesn't take you up on your good deal, then you know that you got some homework to do, like African Dream. I mean, that was plenty sessions, and every single time a race came up, we had to dot the I's, cross the T's. We had to. You know, and then some trainers don't warrant you that. They don't allow you to, or don't want you to do a refresher. You know, but if the horse doesn't load, it ain't gonna run.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole knock-on effect.
So it's you know, it really have to have a good relationship with the trainer, because at the end of the day, he's trusting you to take that horse to the pens, put it in the pens, and do your job, and go back to the yard without a scratch on it.
Yeah.
You know. And there's so much prep work that goes into making a racehorse. So the last thing he wants to do is give a horse to someone and then it come back lame. And if it does come back, like with the work that I do, because we're dealing with a lot of expressive emotion, a lot of the time the horses overreach and pull shoes. So then, you know, the farriers hate you. You know, so then as long as you put overreach boots on, then you're okay. But you know, you can put overreach boots on, but the horse can still strip shoes.
Yeah.
So it's a complex one.
What I want you to do is just share with the viewers as we close, and it is a bit of a personal question. And when you answer it, I don't want you to answer it exactly, because as always, you know.
Well, why ask the question?
Because I want people to get a rough idea. I've had this argument with you before. I had this argument.
Andrew wants to go, man.
It's beer 30 time. I'm just telling you that I've had this argument with you before, to give the viewers a rough idea, because I don't know, and I've got horses that I've been charged fees, etc. That I don't check bills, but anyway, don't tell my wife that.
We'll expect your chief executive bill in the post, but
The question I want to ask you is, and I don't want the direct answer, roughly a session, if I'm a trainer, I'll book you for a session.
Okay.
Is a session about an hour? That's the first, how long, or is it as long as you need?
yeah, as long as you need. It can go from 15, 20 minutes. The refresher for chief was 5 minutes.
Okay, so,
You know?
so the time was,
Put him in the pens, great. Without a rider, he can stand, fantastic. Unload him, put him in, close him up, he can stand, fantastic. Take him out. Put a rider on, put him in, stand. Great, he can stand now. Before he was flipping and throw himself around. Now you up the ante, then you put a companion next to him. And, Tutuzela, bless Garth Puller, we've used Tutuzela for so many problem horses. One, he knows the packet. He's not scared and flipsy with the packet. And that son of a gun can drop most horses over 60 meters. He is so quick out the pens. So it's a fantastic
he
training
teaches
aid.
them
Not only,
too,
he pulls those horses out the pens, So back to chief executive, load him with a companion, jump him, done. All those exercises took 5 minutes to go through.
Glenn, and
Sometimes I've seen you at Ashburton sitting there for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
yeah, it depends.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
that was the first part of the question, is that the sessions vary in time.
As long as it takes.
And what is? This is where I don't want an exact. What are the charges? How do you guys? I know everyone charges differently. Are your fees a couple of $100? Are they a couple of thousands? I mean, how does it work?
Mark and I wish we could charge thousands.
Okay,
So we.
I don't want to know what your fees are. Although
we charge anything from 500 rand up, right?
up. So okay, so it's
500-600 rand a
up
session,
on-
and then you still that's to do your job. But then you got this thing called a vehicle that just eats and chows money.
Yeah,
you still have to get your
absolutely.
butt all the way up to Ashburton or all the way to wherever the hell you need to get to.
That's that's a good answer for $500-600 up and depending on times.
And then the half of that. If you're doing a refresher, you can't charge $500-600
sure,
because you
okay.
just did work for 3, 5, 10, 15 minutes. You
Yeah.
know, so then it's worth doing the refresher. You know what I mean? It's such a it goes hand in hand.
Okay, that's perfect. That's what I just wanted to that's what it is. Okay.
Cool.
That's a wrap from us. I wasn't getting personal, although you've got to charge the owners and the trainers, but I just wanted the viewers to get a rough idea of the times and the costs of horse
It
whispering.
ain't ridiculously expensive, but like Mark, well, even sometimes we need to refresh a horse. If it's tripping out before the race and it can't even be exercised, and we don't touch it before it races, how the hell are we supposed to load it?
Yeah.
And if we are able to load it, well, we're bloody lucky that we loaded it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if we didn't load it, I guarantee you we'd have the trainer on
your back, yeah.
on our back kind of thing. So
Glen, it's been a pleasure having you with us on the Horses to Follow. It's been interesting. We could sit here in this glorious clubhouse and just keep talking about your wonderful story. Thank you to Tawanda as well. He's got a few edits that he needs to do, a few pictures that he needs to insert.
he's turned that camera around. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah, he'll show everybody the beautiful view that we're looking at. Andrew, thanks for your time. Get safely back up the hill.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
I'm racing on Sunday, working on Sunday, and then I'm out for 1 week. Don't phone me, I'll phone you.
Okay.
I'm only joking. You know that I'm not joking about being off. You can phone me.
Your leave form yet, so.
Well, you better do it before the horse bolts. From Warren Lenferner,
Nice to meet you, Andrew.
from Warren Lenferner, Glyn Redgrave, and if you can believe the first time Andrew Harrison and Glyn Redgrave have met, I mean, that's unbelievable. You need to come out of that sleepy hollow there in Maritzburg. From all of us here at the podcast team, stay safe, God bless, goodbye, and we'll see you in the number 1 box.
Thank you.